Divine revelation. Beauty manifested from your ruins after 40 days of faithful prayer. In the heart of the quaint village of Stonemoor, a well-worn path led to its ancient church, where echoes of hope had long reverberated. It was here, in her time of deep despair, that Sarah, a devoted single mother, found herself on her knees amid flickering candles and the murmurs of whispers. After her husband left without warning, every corner of her life felt strewn with jagged shards of grief. This was her sanctuary, a place where even the stones seemed to breathe faith. Every evening, villagers gathered, their hearts united in purpose, invoking the intercession of St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes. The atmosphere buzzed with an electrifying energy, the air thick with fervent prayers, a divine current palpable to anyone sensitive enough to listen. Sarah joined the chorus of voices, her own wavering but filled with raw desire for relief. In the dim light of the church, she felt an unseen presence, a warm embrace that seemed to wrap around her like a soft blanket. Amid these gatherings, something miraculous began to unfold. As prayers rose, the light within the church shimmered, illuminating faces with an ethereal glow. One evening, as the congregation prayed, a gentle breeze swept through, extinguishing candles and raising the fine hair on their arms. Sarah looked around, feeling the power within that moment, a collective heartbeat of belief, vibrating through the very foundation of the building. Just then, a brilliant light burst like the dawn, flooding the room and momentarily blinding them all. Gasps filled the air as people stumbled back, and Father Michael's voice broke through, calling for calm. "Fear not, we are visited by the divine." In the days that followed, hope intertwined with despair, as doubts cast shadows on Sarah's once steadfast heart. A few villagers raised eyebrows, claiming faith served only to comfort the weak. "Look around you," they said, but Sarah clung to her prayers, even as skepticism wormed its way into her mind. Is faith truly a sustenance or a crutch? She pondered silently, her soul weighed heavy with unknowing. One fateful night, tragedy struck. Her young daughter Lily, always so vibrant, fell ill. Desperation clawed at Sarah's heart as she knelt beside Lily's bed. Tears fell like rain as she poured out her soul, begging for intervention. It was a dark hour, filled with hopelessness, until dawn broke, casting a golden light through the window. In that luminous moment, something shifted. Sarah felt a profound understanding settle within her, revealing the beauty hidden in her suffering, the lessons wrapped in her sorrow. As she opened her eyes, the air crackled with inexplicable energy, and a warm light enveloped Lily. The doctor's words the following day shocked them all. Lily's condition had miraculously improved. The transformation was surreal, as though a divine hand had brushed against her. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The excitement among the villagers surged. They gathered once again in the church, all hearts pounding with wonder, wrestling with the conflict of belief and disbelief. Sarah's spirit soared while anxiety gripped her. How could they explain such a miracle? A whisper of doubt threatened to drown out the joy, as shadows of skepticism lurked among the faithful. Yet, amid the collective plight and joy, one question loomed over them all. Was this miracle a sign of God's hand, or simply chance? As they sat in the stillness, brokenness mingled with hope, the path ahead. Uncertain, would Sarah's newfound courage be enough to mend the gaps and bind them all through this divine mystery? The days crept by in Stonemoor, each one more vibrant with a thrill of possibility than the last. The church, once a humble sanctuary of grief, now pulsed with cinders of faith. Its walls, stained with centuries of prayers, stood as a testimony to the miracles birthed within. Sarah felt the change in the air, a thickening of hope that bore the fragrance of renewal. As she walked the path to the church, laughter and chatter spilled from the open doors. Villagers flowed in and out, sharing stories of their own struggles and triumphs sparked by the unprecedented healing of Lily. They all leaned closer to each other, drawn together by the invisible thread of divine grace weaving through their lives. Sarah, too, felt the pull, the desire to share her heart and find solace in fellowship. Father Michael stood at the altar, his presence both comforting and inspiring. He raised his hands, and the congregation hushed, enveloped in the stillness that signaled reverence. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice steady, "we are witnessing a heart-changing moment in our village. God is revealing his love, not just through miracles, but through the transformation within each of us." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Hope began to bloom like the first flowers of spring after a long, harsh winter. Sarah's heart swelled within her chest. She felt the gravity of the healing that had taken place, not only in Lily, but in each person present. Their stories, their struggles, all began intertwining, creating a tapestry of faith that illustrated God's handiwork among the ordinary. But the air was not without tension. For every spark of belief, a shadow of doubt lingered. The whispers grew louder among some villagers. But what if this is just coincidence? What if tomorrow brings another storm? They resisted the hope, protective of themselves, unwilling to believe in a promise that felt fragile and fleeting. With each passing day, Sarah found herself torn. She could sense the power of faith's community urging them toward joy, but the fear of loss and skepticism threatened to pull them back. One evening, she gathered her courage and addressed her neighbors. "For years, I prayed in silence," she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. "But I know now that God has a plan for us. Even amidst doubt, we must remember that faith calls for action together." Encouraged by her words, the villagers began to share their own testimonies, stories they had locked away in their hearts. There was John, who had feared his heated temper would shatter his family. Yet, through prayer, he found patience. Sarah could see the change in his eyes. Then there was Margaret, who had battled loneliness since her husband passed. With the community's love, she bloomed anew like a cherished garden. It was a night filled with raw, honest energy, the weight of vulnerability lifting them as they spoke. As they shared, sparks danced in the air around them, a testament to the divine presence flooding their lives. Yet still, deep within Sarah, a question lingered. How long would this beautiful revelation sustain? Would the bonds formed amid prayer withstand the inevitable trials that approached? Just as she pondered these wonders, Father Michael beckoned for silence once more. "Let us gather in prayer," he urged. "Allow your hearts to seek the truth of God's plan." As they closed their eyes and focused on the flame of hope within, the light in the room shimmered, casting shadows that danced like the very fabric of their collective spirit. What will be revealed next? What awaited them in the unfolding tapestry of divine love? The mystery of their faith journey was only just beginning. The morning light streamed through the stained glass, washing the interior of the church in a kaleidoscope of colors. Sarah stepped inside, her heart buoyed by the warmth of community gathered in faith. The chatter was alive, voices mingling with laughter, the aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from the communal kitchen, promising nourishment for both body and soul. Father Michael polished the altar, preparing for another service filled with hope. He looked up and saw Sarah, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Today is a new day for Stonemoor," he announced, gathering everyone's attention. "We are not just witnessing miracles, we are becoming them, shining lights to one another in the darkness." As he spoke, a hush fell over the congregation, hearts tuning into the resonance of his words. The air felt charged with expectation. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the familiar thrum of faith beneath her skin. She couldn't shake the desire to share the vision God had placed upon her heart. "Father," she interjected, her voice steady yet bold, "would it be all right if I shared something with the congregation?" She felt those familiar eyes upon her, the warmth of understanding, the flicker of hope. "Of course, my child," he replied gently, gesturing for her to come forward. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped into the light, mind racing with what to say. "I sense that God wishes us to embody our faith more overtly, to reach out beyond the church walls. What if we create moments for our village that showcase healing in ways we've not yet realized?" Some murmured in agreement, while others bent their heads, still wrestling with doubt. But Sarah pressed on. "We've lived through our own storms, yet now we are extended a hand of grace. Perhaps we could start a community garden. Invite each family to plant, to tend, and to gather in thankfulness for his providence. Just as a garden grows from seeds, our faith can bloom together if we nurture it." An electric hum of conversation filled the room. John, who had been sitting in the back, stood up with a surprised grin. "That is a fantastic idea, Sarah. We could call it our faith garden, and each plant can symbolize the stories of hope we've shared." "Yes." Margaret's voice rang out, her spirit visibly lifted. "It would remind us daily of what we've overcome and the divine grace that continues to flow in our lives." The energy in the room shifted. Urgency and excitement began to blossom. They were no longer just listeners, but active participants in the unfolding story. Father Michael raised his hands to bring the attention back to him. "Let us pray over this vision," he encouraged, bowing his head. "May this garden not only yield fruits and vegetables, but lives transformed in faith." The congregation echoed his amen, and as they prayed, Sarah felt the atmosphere thrum with potential. Yet beneath the excitement lay that haunting hesitation, the question that lingered in the air: could this momentum last? Would they be able to nurture it amidst challenges? As the prayer concluded, a gentle fragrance of freshly cut herbs wafted into the church, and the light seemed to shimmer around them. It felt like a sign of God's delight in their visions for communal growth. Just as they began to discuss plans and assignments, an unexpected wind swept through the doors, causing a swirl of papers and hushed whispers. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. What was this? The electric anticipation held its breath as the church doors silently closed again, leaving them in a thick, sacred silence. What was God revealing in that moment? What challenge or blessing awaited their united hearts? As they prepared to step out into the light of a new day, each of them felt the stirring inside an urge, a call, a nudge toward something more profound. The stillness enveloped them like a warm blanket, where the familiar sounds of the church faded, leaving only the soft rustling of pages and whispered prayers. Sarah could feel the collective heartbeat of her fellow believers, a rhythm pulsing with eager anticipation. It was as if the Spirit was pushing them gently, inviting exploration and connection. "Let us bring our fears to God." Father Michael's voice shattered the silence. "For in our vulnerabilities, His strength is realized." Heads nodded, and a gentle hum of agreement filled the space. Sarah felt her heart race. The garden they had envisioned was more than just soil and seeds. It was a chance to cultivate faith, foster relationships, and unite the community under a purpose divine. "Let each of us write down a fear we hold in our hearts," Father Michael encouraged, pulling out a small basket. "Then we will plant them at our faith garden. As they grow into beautiful blooms, may they remind us that God's grace transforms our shadows into light." One by one, congregants rose to share their heartfelt concerns. Lucy, with her tear-stained cheeks, spoke of her son, struggling to find his way in the world. David revealed his battle with a deep-seated fear of failure that clouded his every endeavor. The raw honesty brought forth a connection, like a breath of fresh air in a musty attic. With each confession, the fears transformed into shared burdens, visibly lifted by the act of unity. With the basket overflowing, Sarah approached with her fears. She had her shared doubts about her own ability to lead this garden of faith, the fear of what others might think. But as she placed her slip of paper inside, she felt lighter. Each fear surrendered became room for hope to bloom. The congregation formed a circle, hands clasped together, their eyes closed in prayer. The warmth of their unity enveloped Sarah. "Lord, we ask for your blessing on our garden and our hearts," Father Michael prayed. "Help us face our fears, and let them be transformed by your mighty hand." As they prayed, an unexpected warmth filled the room, a divine sensation washing over them like gentle rain. It glimmered in the air, tangible with the promise of God's presence. Suddenly, a soft flutter caught Sarah's eye. She opened her eyes to find a beautiful butterfly has landed on the altar, a divine messenger that danced in the light, breathtaking and serene. The congregation gasped, oxygen holding disbelief painted across every face. "Look, God's creation," Margaret whispered, pointing. "It's a sign of renewal." Father Michael smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Just as the butterfly undergoes its transformation, we too are being called to rise above, embracing the light that God provides. We're being made new." Mutters of "look at the colors, and it's so beautiful," echoed around the room. What once seemed impossible began to feel possible. What had felt mere shadows began to dance in the light. As the service concluded, Sarah felt a shift, a sense of purpose ignited within her. This wasn't just about growing a garden in the village. It was about growing in faith together. Each blossom would carry their stories, their hopes, their prayers, an outpouring of love that could nourish souls for generations. Yet, in this newfound excitement was a question that hummed just under the surface: would the butterfly return? And what more would they see unfolding from their act of faith? As the congregation stepped outside, the chill of the morning air kissed their cheeks, a reminder that the journey ahead would not be without trials. But they had begun to taste the awakening that came from the planting of their fears, hands joined in faith. What would they discover as they tended to their fears and nourished the seeds of faith? The upcoming journey shimmered with promise. A call to deeper faith awaited. How would they respond? As the congregation spilled into the crisp morning light, the buzz of hope filled the air. Sarah looked around, her heart swelling with a deep-seated joy. The butterfly's visit felt like more than a fleeting moment. It signified something greater, a reminder that beauty could emerge from even the deepest fears. Father Michael gathered them by the entrance. "Everyone, I invite you to join me this Wednesday evening for our first gathering at the Faith Garden. Let us prepare the soil and plant our fears together. It will be the beginning of something transformative." Excitement rippled through Sarah, mingling with a hint of apprehension. Preparing the earth meant digging deep, both literally and figuratively. Could they truly face their past burdens with this new sense of community? As she rode her bike toward the garden later that week, she envisioned the fresh sprouts piercing through the earth, each bloom telling a story of triumph over fear. But she couldn't shake the doubts that whispering would rise like the morning mist. What if their labor met with failure? Upon arriving, the sight of eager faces settled her heart. Among them was Lucy, smiling despite the uncertainty surrounding her son. "I'm counting on this garden," she confided to Sarah. "It feels like the first step toward healing." Nodding in understanding, Sarah replied, "It's not just about the garden. It's about us growing together." With shovels in hand, the group came together. Children laughed, their joy mingling with the adults' earnest conversations. They dug into the earth, their hands stained with soil, a physical representation of their commitment. Every shovelful of dirt was a testament to the layers of fear surrendering to the light of new faith. As they worked, Sarah noticed something within herself begin to shift. With each handful of soil, she felt her own fear subside, replaced by a growing understanding that her leadership was simply a path to shared growth, not just hers alone. What a joy it was to lead others toward the heart of God. When they paused for a moment, Father Michael gathered them in prayer. "Lord, bless this garden, fill it with your spirit. We thank you for the fears we've released and for the blooms that will rise from this holy effort. As they closed their eyes in solemnity, a familiar warmth enveloped them once more. The same sensation that had filled the church returned, nestled in the heart of the garden, sacred and tranquil. Sarah opened her eyes half, expecting to see the butterfly once more, a link connecting their efforts from the church to the garden. But this time, a flicker caught her attention. Was it sunlight, glistening off something? She approached the spot and gasped. A delicate flower was blossoming from the very earth they had just tilled, vibrant and full of life, a beautiful white lily rising amidst the brown soil. Were they not just planting seeds of fear, but also seeds of hope? The congregation gathered around, eyes wide in wonder. "Look, a sign of God's affirmation," exclaimed Margaret, her voice filled with awe. Yet even as joy surged, deep questions began to swirl within Sarah's heart. Why had this flower appeared so soon? What was the message behind its sudden bloom? As their hands brushed against the soft petals, an unspoken understanding began to emerge among them. They were on the brink of something beyond human comprehension. This was merely the beginning of their journey into divine submission and revelation. What deeper meanings awaited them in this blossoming faith? Would the other fears buried under the soil yield their own treasures? With excitement tinged with intrigue, Sarah knew that God was calling them deeper still. What awaited them next in their garden of faith? The evening sun cast a golden glow over the faith garden, turning the white lily into a radiant beacon of hope. Sarah stood with the others, silently moved by the beauty that had emerged so quickly. This was no ordinary flower, it was a divine message, an unfolding promise that spoke of hope and renewal. "Can you believe it?" whispered Lucy, gripping Sarah's hand. "It's like a miracle." "It feels like one," Sarah replied, her voice tight with emotion. "But what does it mean?" Father Michael saw the wonder in their eyes and raised his hands, as if calling upon the heavens. "Friends, we've just witnessed the first fruits of our labor. This lily reminds us that new life springs from our willingness to plant our fears and face our burdens together." As the congregation nodded, a sense of unity enveloped them. They were no longer just individuals. They were a collective, bonded through shared vulnerability and faith. Days melded into one another as they continued to nurture their garden. Each visit felt like a step further into a divine mystery. The congregation gathered weekly, planting seeds of different colors, each representing a specific fear. All the while, they continued to encounter signs. Dragonflies dancing above the surface, the fragrance of earth after rain, the laughter of children filling the air. All these moments wrapped their hearts in warmth. Yet, whispers of doubt still tickled the edges of Sarah's peace. Would the other seeds grow, just like the lily? Or would they remain buried in the soil of uncertainty? One Saturday, while they worked, Father Michael shared his own struggles. "Each of us has burdens. I've faced moments where my faith has been tested. There were times I felt like giving up completely. But look at us now. This garden stands as testimony that faith, much like these seedlings, thrives when nurtured." His words struck a chord, resonating with Sarah deeply. It was a reminder that growth often came with pain, and beauty often emerged from struggle. Over time, the congregation's fears began to transform. Those who once hesitated now spoke openly, sharing experiences that stung yet bonded them further. Tears poured out, stories entwined, and hearts knitted close together through authenticity. The garden wasn't just a testament to nature. It was becoming a testament to the power of collective prayer and vulnerability. During one particular gathering, a young boy named Noah shared, "I was scared of losing my dad," he murmured, his small voice shaking. "But when I see the flowers grow, I know maybe, just maybe, he'll be all right." As Sarah knelt down to comfort him, she felt a stirring in her own heart. Love and faith filled that moment, wrapping around both of them. "You're so brave, Noah. God is with us always." Then, a soft breeze whispered through the garden, as if the very air was agreeing with her. The congregation paused, eyes wide, breaths held something felt different. A rustle in the bushes caught their attention, and they turned to see the butterfly. It was the same one from before, fluttering gracefully among the blooms. "It's back!" Someone cried out, breaking the reverence with joyous laughter. The white wings flickered like messages of love and reassurance. For Sarah, it was confirmation that they were under divine watch. Yet, as she watched it dance above them, she felt a nagging question arise deep within. What more did God want to show them through this garden? Was there a deeper revelation hidden beneath the surface? The butterfly landed softly on the newly blossomed lily, and in that sacred moment, Sarah understood. Their journey was only beginning. What other wonders could sprout from their faithful tending? And what awaited them in this garden of divine revelation? The bright hues of daybreak rushed over the faith garden, signaling the onset of a new chapter, both in nature and in the hearts gathered there. Sarah, more eager than ever, clasped her hands together, her spirit buzzing with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Today felt charged, brimming with possibility. "Today, we unveil our fears," Father Michael spoke, his voice steady yet gentle. "Each seed we've planted represents a burden we've laid to rest. As they bloom, we will see the transformation not just in our garden, but in ourselves." The congregation nodded, murmurings of agreement rippling through the group. Together, they formed a circle around the lily, each one holding onto a small piece of paper. These slips held the names of their fears. As they took turns reading what was written, the air electrified. "I fear loneliness," one woman said, her voice quaking. "I fear failing my children." Another voice was softer. "I fear that my marriage won't survive." With each confession, a weight seemed to lift from their hearts, spilling over like soil from an upturned pot. Their bodies shifted, their faces brightened, as if admitting their fears had birthed a new light among them. Noah stepped forward, surprising Sarah. "I want to say mine, too." He held tightly to a crumpled paper. "I'm afraid my dad will leave." There was a collective hush, his innocent pain striking deeper chords in the hearts around him. Sarah knelt beside him and whispered, "You're brave, Noah. Let us release that fear together." As each paper was cast into the air, lifted by the breeze, the garden became a sacred altar of prayers whispered and hopes shattered. The butterfly, still fluttering about, danced among the drifting papers, creating an enchanting tapestry of devotion. "Look," yelled Lucy, pointing at the surface of a lily. It began to shimmer, reflecting light in unexpected ways. The petals seemed to pulse, responding to their vulnerability and prayers. Suddenly, a soft glow wrapped around them, as if heaven itself was enveloping the gathering in its warmth. There were gasps and smiles. Hearts pounded in sync, a divine affirmation of their transformation. Altogether, they began to chant simple phrases that flowed naturally from their hearts like a river. "We trust, we heal, we grow." With each repetition, they felt mountains of fear crumble, revealing the fertile soil of faith anew. As Sarah watched the lily, it felt as if it was no longer just a flower, but a beacon of renewal. The petals were bursting forth, shifting in vivid colors, as if illuminated by a mystical light. She glanced at Father Michael, and she could see wonder knitted through his brow. "Do you see?" he urged. "This is a manifestation of grace, a reminder that in vulnerability we find strength." And at those words, a wind swept through the garden, the bouquet of scents earthy, fresh, carrying whispers from above. Yet in that awe-filled moment, Sarah's heart wrestled with unanswered questions. Why now? Why this unveiling? With the garden alive like never before, Sarah pondered what other truths awaited them. What deeper revelations lay hidden, waiting for them to uncover. As clouds gathered overhead, creating a distinct shadow, she felt a thrill of uncertainty weave through the joy. What would the storm bring? And would they be able to embrace it with the same faith they had cherished so far? Nothing felt settled, but everything felt possible. The flutter of wings drew her gaze upwards, and the butterfly circled once more, as if beckoning them toward the next great revelation of their journey. In the midst of joy and wonder, the sky darkened further, clouds swirling like a living tapestry above the faith garden. As the strong winds started to gust, a collective breath was drawn in. The altar of fears laid bare before them fluttered precariously, like the heart of each person present. "Stay together," Father Michael called out, his voice cutting through the rising wind. "This is a sacred moment. Hold on to each other and to your faith." Everyone tightened their circle, bodies leaning in closer. As the trembling leaves rustled, Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the heartbeat of the garden echo within her. Though she sensed the storm, she also felt something else, an invitation, a call to dive deeper into the experience unfolding in their midst. She whispered a silent prayer, asking for clarity, for strength, and for guidance. The winds began to intertwine with the lingering whispers of their chant, merging their words into a harmonic prayer that rose beyond the garden. Suddenly, a flash of light illuminated the space, cutting through the shadows. It was not blinding, but rather soothing, embracing them with warmth. Noah gasped as he pointed once more toward the lily, which had transformed into a brilliant, radiant jewel, pulsating with colors that danced like a flame. "Look," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder, as if in response to their unity. The essence of the garden heightened all around. Vines crept slowly across the ground like a gentle stream, finding its path. Petals unraveled further, revealing the hidden jewels within. The lily, now brimming with life, had become a living art piece that reflected their communion. "Just as our fears withered away," Father Michael remarked, "so too will our doubts and hesitations. What seems burdensome can turn into pure beauty." His voice surged with newfound fervor, drawing them into a space of transformation beyond what they understood. In that pivotal moment, Lucy began to sway, the music of their hearts harmonizing with the wind. "We shine, just like the lily," she shouted, her spirit alive with the unveiling of their journey. A beacon emerging from within the shadows. As laughter and song rose, the sound became a chorus, lifting up to the heavens. Yet, amidst the celebration, Sarah felt a tingle of unease. What was this light trying to show them? Then came the voice, soft yet undeniable, like a whisper carried by the wind. "You must let go to receive. Brace for the truth hidden beneath the surface of your souls." Fear clawed at Sarah's heart. What truth? What more could they uncover? The clouds above pulsed with a rhythm of their own, seemingly waiting in expectancy. And above all, the butterflies circled them gently, as if knowing a secret yet to be revealed. A murmur spread through the group, a reflection of the shared anticipation. Eyes widened and breaths quickened. What would emerge from this moment? How could what was hidden be unveiled without fear? Amid the swirling emotions of hope and anxiety, a single tear rolled down Sarah's cheek, fueled by the blend of weight and lightness she felt converge within. The storm, it suddenly seemed, was both a challenge and a promise, a divine reminder of the blessings waiting at the end of perseverance. The butterfly drew closer, its wings fluttering softly. In that tight circle, hearts united in vulnerability and faith, Sarah wondered, what awaited her beyond the storm? Would they all be ready to embrace it? Hope and uncertainty melded together as the skies began to shimmer, signaling a transformation unprecedented. Among all this, one question echoed louder than the rest. What was this truth they were destined to uncover? As the skies shimmered, a gentle hush fell over the gathering. An unspoken promise lingered in the air. Each heartbeat, every breath taken felt charged with the possibility of revelation. Sarah's tear, glistening like liquid sunlight, mirrored the beauty she saw unfolding all around her. The garden was a sacred canvas, each leaf, each petal, pulsing with life, ready to share its secrets. Father Michael's voice broke through the stillness, now soft and steady, carrying a weight of anticipation. Remember, dear friends, we have walked this path together. No fear can stand against the goodness we nurture in our hearts. His words held a balm for the restiveness creeping into Sarah's spirit. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were close to discovering a long-forgotten treasure hidden within their souls. Lucy's laughter reverberated against the wind that rushed around them, its playful spirit mingling with the heaviness lingering in Sarah's heart. It felt both refreshing and unsettling, like cool water containing unknown depths. As Lucy spread her arms wide, welcoming the swirling air, the group followed suit, surrendering their fears. With every breath, they declared their readiness, even if uncertainty still clung to them. The butterfly, eternal and enigmatic, danced above, flitting from person to person. Its wings sparkled in the dimming sunlight, echoing touches of peace and hope, and its presence seemed to beckon them closer to the truth. Sarah felt compelled to reach out, her hand moving instinctively toward it. The group watched in awe, as in those fluttering wings she caught a glimpse of her own uncertainty. "I'm ready," she whispered, barely audible above the gusts. Ready to let go. Her heart raced, quaking with a mix of fear and anticipation, but she found clarity in her willingness to embrace the unknown. As if in response, the sky darkened a touch more, casting a dramatic light upon the lily, causing it to shine brighter. The radiance took on an almost incandescent quality, challenging the shadows pressing in around them. "What is happening?" Noah's voice trembled with excitement as he nudged closer to inspect the unfolding miracle. "Transformation, my child," Father Michael murmured, his eyes fixed on the illuminated lily. "A reminder that in darkest moments, the light shines brightest. God presents us with beauty born from trials." Before Sarah could marvel at the wisdom of the priest, reality shifted. The swirling clouds became heavier, the winds stronger, as if the heavens prepared to unveil a secret long held dear. The group instinctively clutched one another tighter, yet they could not shake the dawning realization that something profound was about to unfold. Suddenly, the air filled with a whisper, its melody rich and full, transcending the storm. "From your ruins, beauty shall bloom," the voice declared, lovingly resonant yet powerful, rippling through each heart as they shared a collective intake of breath. Sarah stood witness to an unbelievable phenomenon. The petals of the lily began to unfurl, slowly revealing a brilliant light nestled within, radiating warmth and hope like a sunrise breaking through the bleakest of nights. In that moment, she realized the truth wasn't merely theirs to find, it was something they had to cultivate. "We must keep faith, even when the path appears treacherous," she breathed softly, echoing a newfound strength within her. But even as their spirits soared, questions hung in the air. Was this truly the beauty spoken of? Were they prepared for the gifts of revelation, having dared to ask for clarity? The storm rumbled in affirmation, crackling with divine energy, while the butterfly glided lower, its path guiding them forward. A silent promise lingered, pregnant with potential. What grace awaited them next, just beyond the horizon of their understanding? The temperature fell as the winds shifted, pulling everyone toward a new direction. What awaited them in this vast, celestial embrace? As uncertainty intermingled with the thrill of faith, Sarah knew this was merely the beginning. What lay ahead would challenge their very souls. As the storm swirled around them, painting the skies dark, something beautiful began to unfold. Sarah stood with her heart racing, gazing at the radiant lily. The voice that had resonated moments ago lingered like an echo of hope. "From your ruins, beauty shall bloom." With each breath the congregation took, they embraced the weight of the moment. Together, they had journeyed through trials, from Sarah's grief to the community's shared fears. The gardens they had tended mirrored their hearts, scattered with hopes, drenched with uncertainties, and now tingling with promise. "Keep your eyes on the lily," Father Michael urged, his voice grounding them amid the roaring winds. "It is a testament. This beauty is a sign of our strength, reborn from struggle." As he spoke, the petals of the lily unfurled further, revealing a cluster of shimmering crystals within glistening under the weight of the gathering storm. Each face turned in reverence, eyes wide with wonder, hearts reverberating with the hope they had forged together. Then came the butterfly, floating through the air, landing softly atop the blossoming lily. Its delicate wings fanned out, illuminated by the burgeoning light within the flower. Just like the butterfly, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. We too emerge from darkness transformed. Suddenly, the gusts softened, and the very earth trembled beneath them. The congregation stood entwined, a resolute circle of faith, holding on to one another as they felt a rush of warmth and undeniable presence fusing their spirits. "What is this?" someone murmured, and it hit Sarah like a tidal wave, the reverberation of God's promise. As if in confirmation, the lily began to sway gently, releasing a fragrance that filled the garden, intoxicating them with the sweetness of divine love. Tea leaves shimmering on the lily's petals whispered secrets and gratitudes to the congregation's hearts, point one by one. They drew closer, their fears melting away and merging with the earth beneath them. Each person took turns to touch the lily, offering their thanks aloud. Laughter mingled with tears, joy with release. Noah, his eyes bright with awe, leaned against Sarah and exclaimed, "Look, it's like magic. God really cares for us." "Indeed, he does, my child," Sarah replied, her heart uniting with the collective pulse of faith surrounding her. "This is so much more than a garden. It's our hearts transformed." With that, Father Michael encouraged them to kneel within the circle, grounding their newfound clarity. "Let us give thanks for the revelations, the beauty birthed from our trials, and the community we've fostered in faith. Every stone we've turned, every fear laid bare, has led us here to this moment." As they knelt, Sarah felt a surge of gratitude and warmth crash over her. The wind howled again, this time not with dread, but with anticipation. Within the garden, life burgeoned. The lily at their center glowed brighter than ever, a radiant beacon of divine assurance. Suddenly, as if the heavens had opened, sunlight streamed through the clouds, bathing the garden in golden rays. The butterfly took flight once more, dancing above like a messenger of hope, guiding them into a new dawn in that sacred space. Doubts shattered against faith's unyielding wall. Each beat of their hearts echoed the promise that they weren't alone. Beauty thrived where shadows once danced. This was not just a season of growth, but an invitation to live into the fullness of God's grace. Tears of joy cascaded down Sarah's cheeks. "Beautiful," she breathed, "we are beautiful." A chorus of amens rose, harmonizing their fragile hearts into one resilient spirit. "Let us carry this revelation beyond our garden," Father Michael led, his voice powerful and vibrant. "Let it flow into our lives, breathe life into our stories, and weave us tighter into this fabric of love." With that declaration, they stood united, hand in hand, ready to face a world alive with color and hope. They would embody faith, nurture transformation, and live freely in grace, spreading seeds of comfort to those still in the ruins that as shadows pushed back against the sun. Sarah thought of everything that had been lost and all that was now gained. Each petal whispered promise. Their fear had become fuel for faith. "Let us go forth," Lucy called, her voice a passionate rallying cry. "Let us be the light." "Yes," shouted John, lifting his hands in excitement, as they poured into the world beyond the garden's embrace. Hearts ignited, the villagers of Stonemoor ventured into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever the future would bring. From their ruins, they would cultivate a landscape where beauty bloomed, stories intertwined, and love triumphed. As they walked, the sun descending behind them bathed them all in a warm glow, fitting into a journey that was only beginning. From that day forth, they were no longer the same, bonded by hope, woven together in faith. Now, dear friends, if this story resonated with you, it's time for action. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that could change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more seekers find this channel. Comment below. Share your reactions and testimonies about this beautiful ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and divine love. Together, let us spread this spirit of transformation far and wide.